and it's just
The Runnemede Board of Education meeting is called to order. The Board of Education is in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 entitled the Open Public Meetings Act. The time, date, and location of this meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying the retrospect, as well as posting notices in the Borough Hall, Runnemede Post Office, Maryville School, Aligned Bingham School, Grace Downing School, and the Runnemede Public School District website. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, board members.
Ms. Adair?
Here.
Ms. Anderson?
Here.
Ms. Beebe?
Here.
Mr. Buckline? Here. Ms. Davidson?
Here.
Ms. Farry?
Here.
Mr. Impagliazzo? Ms. Panzarella?
Here.
Ms. Baldwin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Also present, Mark Agnucci, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Sean McCarron, Business Administrator, Supervisor of Curriculum Instruction, Mrs. Jade Yezzi, Principal, Bingham Downing School, Mr. Steve Peely, Principal, Maryville School, Mr. Phil Silva, Vice Principal, Maryville School, Mrs. Gladys Hubbard, Child Study Team Supervisor, and Mr. Frank Hines, Supervisor of Building and Grounds. At this time, I need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for September 20th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 20th, regular.
Motion made by Maria, seconded by Chaz. Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Abstain, I was absent.
Mr. Buckline?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Farry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Baldwin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
At this time, I need a motion to approve the financial report, period ending September 30th, 2016.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial reports.
Motion made by
I
Naomi,
second.
seconded by Maria. Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckline?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Farry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Baldwin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
At this time, I believe we have a presentation, Mr. Silva.
Yes, today we have Coach House and Coach Ripple. They're here with a few of their athletes to talk about their season. In my opinion, a really good season.
I'm Shannon House. This is Catherine Weaver. She's one of our 8th graders. We have Bella Angelucci here, who's a 7th grader. We have Alicia Lubers and Caitlin Gale, who are both 8th graders. And I'm just going to say a little bit about the season that they went so far.
Two things I liked about the season was the tie-dye party and our new uniforms. I liked our new uniforms because they're unique because we're the only team that has gray shirts. And I liked the tie-dye party because it was a great activity and it was a great way for the team to bond together.
I liked racing teams on our skill level and
Which team did you like the best? When?
going landing.
Yeah.
And I liked having tryouts in the summer so that we earn more skills when we come into the school year.
Go ahead, Alicia.
I like this season because we have 8th grade recognition and it's to get to know, recognize our 8th graders that are going into high school, and it's our last game to spend time with the kids that are below our grades.
And I liked it because we got to try out new positions, so we got the 8th graders ready for their freshman year.
Try it on different positions. Good. So Whipple.
I'm Christian Whipple. This is Dominic Freeman. This is Ryan Gout, Ethan Cantonese. This is Michaela Graham. This is our awesome defense. I'm hoping that these guys are 7th graders. I'm hoping they're going to grow a little bit more for next season. Not drinking the rugby order, maybe drink some water from Barrowman or something. But this is my roommate Ryder right here. But we had a great season, and I'm going to let these guys share their thoughts.
Yeah, so throughout the season, we progressed a lot. In August, when we first tried out, we were not as put together as we are now. We started out very dysfunctional, and as you can tell, we all were put together at the end.
In the season of soccer, we worked together and played an awesome season. What we did was phenomenal passing, phenomenal shooting. I also liked the summer tryout because we got to bond together and know how we play.
In my opinion, I think the season went well. The season went well because our team was able to get more practices in during the summer, and another thing is we all worked together and during our practices and games.
This season I thought we did really good because when we had the 4-win streak in the beginning,
to we versed Berlin, but we only lost to them by a little bit, and they were the best team in the league for the past 2 years, and they were undefeated for the past 2 years, and we only lost to them by 1.
You guys like practice?
Yeah.
In the summer, no less, in August, right?
It's hot.
Yeah, it was very hot.
Playoffs coming up?
Class for us starts the week of Halloween. We're not sure if we are any again or not. We have one more game left Thursday.
How many students do you have, how many athletes do you have?
We have 19, and then we have 6 practicing squad players. We practice on Fridays.
That's usually younger students, right?
Yeah, 4th graders.
We had 20, and we had 1 out for the season breaker, so we played with my team for the year. But it did great. It was a fun season. Enjoyable.
And riders will be out there soon, right?
Ryder will do anything with ball sport. He's a better athlete than I was, probably.
See, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
I wonder where he gets that hair from. Thank you for coming out, we really appreciate you representing
Thank you.
Colts, and I happen to like them uniforms too, you should have saw the ones I was wearing.
Just gonna take a picture real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I'll see you 8th graders tomorrow.
Night.
All right, Dr. Karen, is this you?
Those my backwards. So during the months of October and September, not October, August and September, I usually present state test scores and preliminary results that we get out. It's usually something that we go over at the retreat. I am required by the state to also present to you the disaggregated data, which breaks it down based on demographic groups. It compares our district factor group, which is day. And district factor group is other similar school districts as far as how they scored. With PARCC, it compares it to the state and then also to the other school districts who participate in PARCC across the country as well. So I'm going to go through this. If you have any questions, please let me know. This represents the PARCC language arts data, the PARCC mathematics data, and the New Jersey Ask Science 4th and 8th grade data is what you will be seeing. So just so you understand the scoring for PARCC, there's 5 levels. Did not meet expectations, partially met, approached expectations, met, and exceeded expectations. The range goes from 650 to 850. So there's a 200 span. They're always looking to see students approaching from approaching on. So they want to see that students are in the approaching to exceeded expectations area. Of course, we're always looking for students who met and exceeded those expectations within their grade level. In 8th grade, English language arts, mathematics, and algebra. Something to consider when we look at the mathematics data is that our numbers are lower because the students who take algebra do not take the 8th grade PARCC assessment. They take the algebra PARCC assessment. Whereas in prior years when New Jersey Ask was given, every student would take the New Jersey Ask. So as you can see, this shows the average scores. So when you look at our algebra scores all the way to the right, Bowles' average score was a 748, which is just almost 2 points away from meeting expectations. We beat out the state score of 741 and the PARCC average score for algebra of 734. For math, 8th grade math, it was 712. That does not include the algebra students within that score. And you can see the state score was 726, the PARCC score was 728. For English language arts, Bowles' score was 742, state, and then the PARCC score. This breaks it down within each area. The way in which the subgroups are decided is that there needs to be at least 10 students within a subgroup in order for that subgroup to count. So male, 30.6 met or exceeded expectations. Female, 39.7 met or exceeded. White, students with disabilities, and economically disadvantaged are the other main subgroups that you'll see. Any questions as I go through? For New Jersey Ask Science, the statewide average score was 72.9% of the students scored proficient or advanced proficient. In the district factor group, it was 61.8 scored proficient. That would be schools that are similar in comparison to Vols. Okay. The district factor group isn't necessarily always the best range to go by, as the last time it's based on the census, and the last time the census was done for district factor group was in the year 2000. And then Vols was 63.9, so we were above our district factor group, below the statewide average, and you can see how we scored in each of the areas that were identified, and those subgroups are identified with 10 students or more.
Can you go back one slide? That one. So if a grade is 100 students, roughly, or high number, and 30 of the kids, 30 of the boys, am I right in that percentage?
Mm-hmm.
For if we looked at English, 30 of the boys of those 100
Met or exceeded.
met, which would mean 640 or 60 did not.
But you're basing that off of 100 boys.
100 boys, right.
So there's
Okay,
still,
so 30 and 39 is 69, so 70 students of the 100 met or exceeded the expectations.
That would be, so if you combine male and female.
Male and female
So if you
together.
We're rounding it at 100.
So if you look at female and you say that there's 50, that would be 40% of 50 would be 20 females of the 50, met or exceeded expectations. 30 females, you would say, could be at approached or below. Correct? Good. Any questions on science? Okay, so for English language arts and mathematics, for 7th grade, mathematics, 735, Vols' score the year prior was 728. English language arts, 744, the year prior was 732. You can see the state and the PARCC averages as well. The numbers in parentheses next to each of those areas represents the number of students who they're using within that count for the average. The breakdown with subgroup. If you need me to go back or if you have any questions, please let me know. 6th grade, mathematics, 735, same as the year prior. English language arts, 741. Closer to the PARCC score, not as close to the state score. Subgroup breakdown for 6th grade. Fifth grade breakdown, mathematics, 724. Year prior was 726. English language arts, 730. 2015 was 737. In grades K to 6, please remember also that we fully implemented a brand new mathematics curriculum across the district. Subgroups. Fourth grade PARCC breakdown. 729 for math. Year prior was 726. 744 for English language arts. Year prior was 740.
Is the year prior then is not for those children, that's for the children that are
Within
in
that
fifth
grade. Correct, because we're looking at it based on the content taught within the grade level.
Right, not the grade level following the grade level.
Correct.
Okay.
However, you do remember the sheet that I gave out that showed
Say no.
the grade level, no, the grade level difference though, and it showed where the students were from one grade to the next, from 4th to 5th, and how we said, it's just, we're looking at the same students, but we're looking at different content that they're being tested on. Whereas with this, we're looking at the same content, and we're looking at different students. But what we can look at from this is that when they give out the broken down information by standards, that's something that we then share with teachers, so we can then look from year to year to see if the same standards are not being met. And if those standards aren't being met, that's when we look back into our curriculum to see how that can be addressed. 4th grade subgroups. And then in grade 4 New Jersey Basic Science, statewide average was 89.8. District factor group was 85.3. Bowls as a whole scored 89.8, which was equal to the statewide average and above the district factor group average. And then you can also see where we scored within the subgroups. And then finally, 3rd grade. 3rd grade, you can see Bingham and Downey do have similar scores. As you look at the comparison between the two, there is a greater difference with English language arts. Bingham 749 for this year, Downey 755 in math. And then in English language arts, 734 at Bingham and 758 at Downey. Subgroup breakdown, and this encompasses all, both schools combined. Questions? What's that?
I have a question.
Go for it.
I have to pronounce the bullets, so it'll be easier for me to figure out what's going on here. So some of these percentages here are a little bit low, I would say, when you have only, on average for the 1 grade, this was like 13%.
The 5th grade.
13 and 27 for 5th grade. That's 27, that's 30% is only meeting or exceeding.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we need to do to get this up at least to state average? Because honestly, these scores need to go up. So as a board, what do we need to do to raise this level?
Well, I
What are we
think.
missing here? Are we missing something? Like, do we have to do something?
Well, I think as a
more?
board, it's constantly looking to see where our curriculum is. And you do know that when we reviewed the curriculum previously, what we saw was that every single grade level was digressing. So right now, when we look at the scores, you need to realize that you're taking students who have received one form of curriculum for over 4 years, and you're introducing them to a brand new curriculum that they are becoming accustomed to, and that we are training teachers and students on as well.
You said that for math, but what about in language arts?
And in language art, well, in
That-
both areas.
You said that as an excuse for math, so okay, there's math, but what about language arts?
And in language arts, one of the things that we're also doing is looking at our current curriculum that we have and trying to find out how we can then add and build onto it.
Right, but if you're saying that the scores went down because we changed curriculums in math, we're saying we need to get them up. So to change the curriculum, isn't that next year you're gonna say that's the reason why they went down again? Follow me with that?
If they were to go down again.
If they were to go down again,
Yeah.
you would say, but you gotta remember, we have a new curriculum. You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what else can be done besides a new curriculum?
Well, I think it's using the disaggregated data that we get in regards to what specific standards are our students not achieving on, and then addressing that within lesson planning and within grade level meetings that we have with staff members to ensure that we're providing them with that professional practice to work with students.
Because, I mean, you would agree that,
Absolutely.
those numbers are unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Angel, I'm speaking for you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you did good. My thoughts exactly.
So I mean, this is something though that is presented across the district, that we present to staff members as well as board, the board. And this is something that we then take the disaggregated information, which is the broken down data, that gives us specific strands and standards, and it tells us where our students had the most difficulty. And based on that information, it then helps us in terms of driving instruction moving forward.
So you can see more specifically why only 13.2% of our males met expectations there.
You can what?
You can see more specifically, you
Yes,
have more.
what area? I can see what area.
Like when we get that parent breakdown, that broke down like my son's scores.
When we see but when they give us the standards breakdown, it gives it to us as a whole. So it'll tell us out of our 100 students, this is the order from most difficult standard to least difficult standard. And it'll tell us where our students performed within those standards.
But, so the whole district did go to the Envisions.
In K to 6, in grades 7 and 8, we are still using a connected version. However, Envisions is moving into grades 7 and 8 as well.
So
And
you-
they've had it for 2 years too.
Yeah.
This year.
Because we changed.
This is your,
we changed-
this is year 2.
Correct,
So
so
we
this
have
is
one-
test if we count it off of tests, this is
That's
test
test number 1.
2.
Test
That's
number
test
1,
number
that
one.
was last year, the
Okay.
first year.
That's
We
what I'm
piloted,
saying.
and we had a lot of conversation about the piloting year.
Okay,
before
that's
we
what I was
moved
thinking,
with
that's
it.
what I was thinking too.
Then we fully implemented.
Not
And then
all
this
grades
is year
did it
2.
that first year.
Got it.
On top of that, we added additional benchmarks into math and language arts with the STAR accelerated reader and accelerated math, and the STAR reading and STAR math. And we are doing consistent checks across the board in terms of providing intervention. When we look at language arts, we've also redone the intervention programs at Vols in grades 4 through 8, as the intervention program that we have in grades K to 3 has been, what I would say, extremely successful.
So when we make board goals for ourselves, we didn't have this data,
Correct.
right? So is that gonna be something that's always gonna happen now? Because we used to have our data in August and we would scramble, right, if we needed to. So from here on out, are you gonna say that we should plan on not having our data at our board retreat?
Well, we don't get some.
But as a board, you already made decisions to address this concern. So if you're looking at language arts, you didn't have an interventionist in grades 6 to 8 for language arts before. You now have a full-time interventionist who's working in grades 6 to 8, pushing into classrooms and also providing outside intervention.
I know that 5th grade class is now 6th grade, but that's not gonna help my 4th and 5th grade scores.
But you also have the 3rd and 4th.
I know.
You have the 4th and 5th grade.
I understand, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying, what we did is we added something somewhere that, like, not, that will address this, but won't necessarily address all of the, other numbers. Go ahead.
I guess my observation is, besides just looking at curriculum changes, when we look at the standards where the children have not performed well in, are we also taking a look at the learning activities, the actual activities the students doing to help develop their skills, increase their skills in the areas where they do poorly, in the standards that they don't score well on? The learning activities, not just changing curriculum, and not just assessment, but actual learning activities to help reinforce them understanding those standards so that they can improve their scores. And that would be a part of professional development then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add?
We're not thrilled with the scores, put it that way. We're trying to do everything we can, short-term goals and long-term goals with them. We can't say, the second year of a test, we can't use that as an excuse for trying to expose the students as much as we can. But we're not happy with it. And we could sit here for the next 3 hours and pick them apart if we'd like to. Teachers aren't happy with them when they say we.
But have you, at your either superintendent roundtable, has this been a discussion amongst any other
Nobody's
districts?
happy.
No?
Nobody's happy.
That's what I was wondering, is there also this, understanding that obviously it's the state standardized test, but are there other districts having the same number, or are there numbers?
Nobody's numbers are.
Okay. Gotcha.
At least in our district.
Right, right.
Nobody's filling for scores.
Okay.
But then it's also, it's now also, for teachers, it's also involved with their student growth percentiles.
Right.
As far as those factors are also factored in as well. So it's across the board that everyone's reviewing these.
I guess my concern is when I look at 8th grade, and I look at math in 8th grade, they're not meeting expectations at all.
every single one of these slides.
No, that's worse. I mean, 8th grade is actually much lower than even 5th grade.
3.2.
And I guess I didn't have my wits together yet as you were starting to speak, so I apologize for going back so far. But like math is 3.2 and 2.5. And race doesn't matter, but male and female, if you put them together, that's just meeting or exceeding.
We
That's
don't
like-
actually put them together.
You could get an
You don't add
average.
that together, that won't be it.
It's just really low. Is it not?
So correct me if I'm wrong. So that 3.2, is that out of the 95 students that took the test, or just the 71 that took the
Just the
regular?
71. And when you look, you'll see, though, because this is basing it off of a score. This is basing it off a score of 750 to 850. So the average score for the PARCC group, the state group, and the Vols group, none of which are between 750 to 850.
Say it again.
Oh,
What you're looking at for the subgroups, Amy, is between 750 and 850, which is met to exceeded expectations.
Okay.
Yes.
When you look at the PARCC average, the state average, and the Vols average,
Which are the three underneath each.
all of
So
them
in
are
essence, they're partially proficient is what
all
I'm
of them
saying.
are below the expectations that were set on the PARCC in regards to met and exceeded.
Right, but the
Correct.
state number is also the district factor group or the entire state?
The entire state, 60,819.
Okay, so we're still below the state number.
Right, and you're actually below a level 2, because that's actually what I put on my papers over there, how many people approached and how many people met. And we have one group that actually met. Grade level. Every other one is actually below met, where the state is usually at where it's at met.
No.
So 726
Correct.
is putting you at approached. 712 is looking at math,
Because you're partial.
is putting you at partial. So how many did we even, most of them were actually approaching. Very few of them were meeting, let alone exceeding.
But then but don't forget also, with the math, you're pulling out your 24 students who were in algebra.
However, so
So
with
your
state-
average, but your average is also changing by pulling your 8th grade algebra
But
out.
the state's pulling them out too.
So it's
Not
not.
with apples.
The algebra, if your kids who take algebra at Black Horse Pike
Yeah.
are in that average,
Right, but the state is
That
putting
Runnemede.
them out too.
not but for more than just 8th grade is what I'm saying.
So usually ninth graders.
So in the past, when you looked at New Jersey S data, your algebra students were still taking the 8th grade New Jersey S with everyone else.
Now they're not, they're taking.
Now they're not. So your average is going to be lower with your 8th grade PARCC versus because your 8th grade algebra students are not taking that assessment. That's all I'm saying.
I think what, if I recall, and I may be wrong, but before we converted to PARCC or asked whatever the state requires at the time, I think that we were similar in, I understand the tests are apples and oranges, I
Mhm.
get that, I understand the concept is apple and oranges, but I think that where we were prior and where we are now is very similar in the meeting average, train going in the same trajectory. If I recall back, is how low we were versus where we wanted to go. Like, if you're gonna just look at the last 2 years, what I'm saying is if we look at the last 2 years when we were using Ask and where we were above, below, on board, what are you shaking your head?
I'm shaking my head, I disagree with that statement
Think
because
you were
I,
lower, higher?
we were always higher than a district factor group, always. Always in both areas.
Right, but what I'm saying is this isn't district factor group deviated, that's state deviated. They're not separating that by district factor group.
Yeah, we taught the test a lot of times because the state of the parents and
Left,
people
right.
are upset.
It's a different
Now,
test.
you're not
Right.
teaching a test like they did years ago. Parents don't want that put on there. They don't want PARCC taught. They don't, so many people are against it.
However, it's
Before
gonna be
you
a
spend
graduation
lot-
requirement now, so
I
we
know, but
have
before
to
you
do
spend
it.
a lot of time on teaching that New Jersey Ask and these booklets and this, But now we just go like this, we don't wanna do that because it's too much assessment, we don't wanna do it.
Well, they
Now
have
we're
park
teaching
practice,
standards,
correct?
And we're doing that.
They don't have any park practice? They don't practice park at all?
It's incorporated into the daily activity.
They don't practice what it will look like?
Yeah, they take similar, they don't sit there and take a 15-minute assessment of park practice.
No, but they do practice, correct?
Yes, they're exposed to the questions and the format that they're gonna be taking on the test. But I wouldn't say it's park.
Do you understand why I disagree with you? Because we were always above, we weren't mediocre, we were always above previously. Does that make sense?
But what our, part of the reason we're above is because we're including the algebra kids that were taking the test.
I had an algebra kid.
There's fifth grade doesn't have algebra kids pulled out.
Said nothing.
Third grade doesn't have algebra kids pulled out. Does anybody else have any other questions for Dr. McCarron?
I have a quick question. What do you, of course, we can't make it as a goal for we past that point, but with the changes we put in place, what do you think we're gonna look like next year? If you could just, based on the changes we've made in.
So here's what I'm gonna tell you. As far as looking at the park data, and as far as looking at what states are doing with standards and Common Core and park, I think that I'm taking information that I can use. I don't know if I'm necessarily looking at the score as much as I'm looking at the standards broken down, the data behind it. Understanding the fact that we've increased interventions in language arts, understanding the fact that we've increased benchmarks that we're using in mathematics, so we're getting more up-to-date and current information that we're able to then turn around every 8 weeks and make sure that we're adjusting and modifying how we're teaching based on that individual class data. I think that that's the direction that we're going in because we feel like it'll meet the needs of our students.
Right. So what do you think?
This,
Do you have any
As
idea
far as-
of how many points you think you might go up next year based upon the different things
Strategies.
you're implementing, the strategy you're implementing this year?
well, each year you're trying, but there's no like estimating because they don't give you a set number. And when they give you the initial data, they tell you it's the raw data because it could change based on questions that are thrown out.
Do you have like grade level goals?
For
Well,
next year.
Well, the grade level goals, I think, are always what standards are we not hitting and how are we gonna hit them better?
They are
So-
that, or you think they are that?
No, they are that. I mean, that's one of the first things we look at in a meeting, but I mean, you're talking curriculum and instruction. So like the first things teachers look at within grade level meetings is, what are we doing and how are we meeting the needs of our students?
Right, however, we have to remember that not everybody on this board is a teacher, so we might have to clarify that for them. Do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
Do you have any other questions?
I just hope to see improvement next year.
Okay, so do we.
I have
What do we
a
got-
all
what do we got
honors
to it?
son who said he
You know?
took part the first year he was here. And he's literally, he has all honors classes in high school. And so he was a first year park and a first year algebra student. And he said, who tests well? And said he was blown away at the difference in, information that was, tested, questions that were on the test versus what was actually the 8th grade at that point was learning. He said, I'm gonna be honest with you, and he was the pilot year, and
Yeah.
he said it was amazing how much different and he knows everything. He could read you Martin Luther King's speech. I mean, he's brilliant. So he said that the what they were learning versus what was on the park test was completely different.
We're not saying that it's not, but
It's hard to.
data, seeing numbers like that is alarming, that's all, I guess we could say.
And you're hearing yourself, so you should still, every 8th grade across the board should have been just as blown away.
And I'm
Sorry,
sure, considering it was the first year, I would, and will take the time now to look at the rest, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't see, all of a sudden Runnemede, who's always been above the average, all of a sudden, just because the state standardized test changed, that makes everyone in Runnemede not be average all of a sudden, like, I would really have to see like the other schools, the other districts.
Well, you have the averages right here.
I understand, but I mean, overall, you're, all of a sudden, we're that, 1 year, one standardized test.
This is the second year.
This year will be, right? because he's.
No, this is the second year.
Right.
This date is the
For
second
the
year.
second year, right, and the year before was pilot, if they weren't they all pilot the year before? Right.
Can I move along? All right, at this time, we're open for public comments on agenda items only. Does anyone in the public have anything to, any questions on public, on anything on the agenda? No? All right, secretary curriculum report, do you have anything publicly that needs to be said? Dr. McCarron?
No, everything's going really well. We're making progress with the ROD grants. We are looking to receive the first installment payment, which they are looking to pay out, which I'm extremely excited about. And then we're in the process of making sure that everything else is finalized with those payments, so that way we can hopefully expedite how quickly we receive it. I am calling the state on a weekly basis in addition to SJPP to ensure that we are staying on top of everything and that things are moving. Before and after care, I can't thank Mr. Morakovitz and the other staff members who are working in the before and after care program. Numbers are extremely high. You know that last month you approved that we have the right to, add staffing if needed to ensure that our numbers stay within a certain range. But based on registrations from last year to registrations for this year, there's an increase across the district of 39% of people who are taking advantage of before and after care services within the schools. Food service revenues are doing great each year. We're making more and more and bringing more and more revenue into the district. We've increased our breakfast program. Ruby Jewell's done a fantastic job along with our food service workers at encouraging students, talking to students about what they like, what they don't like. We now have General Tso's chicken once or twice a month. We've taken away one of our lunch ones, and we've added an additional pizza day where the students actually, I think it was 7th or 8th grade, got to try out different pizzas from the local pizzerias. And we told the pizzerias, make them good, because this could give you a whole day worth of sales. And so now we have, I think it's Sal's one day and Domino's another day. Kids were unwilling to leave Domino's. They still felt very close ties with that. And then finally, transportation services. The number of transportation services, we have the big bus. Our actual bus is currently being, it's in New Jersey. It's currently having the writing placed on it, and we're waiting for the DMV to do the final inspection of that bus.
Nice.
As soon as the DMV does that inspection, we have to wait in line. We will be having that. The bus that we have currently is at no charge to the district, as we were promised that we would have our bus by August 30th. So they said if you don't have your bus by that time, we will rent you a bus until your bus comes in. I think that's good. We're preparing for PARCC and everything else that's coming up. As far as accommodations, Gift and Talents is up and running, and that's all I have.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was talking when you said, what did you say about the first payment of the ROD grant?
The
It's
first
coming,
payment,
first payment?
so of the 1.5, 200,000 about will be coming shortly.
So we're owed 1.5 still.
And once
And
we
we're
receive that, it'll be 1.3, yes.
I just want to tell you.
We're supposed to get about 200, you said?
1.5, so,
Yeah.
yes.
200 now.
I know, I know.
Okay, sorry. All right, superintendent's report.
District enrollment study from the same as last month. We did meet earlier in a policy, we talked about community and public relations regarding announcements in the district. So if you're here, please let parents know that we no longer send home a lot of paper copies as a district goal. As we talked about in August, was to eliminate a lot of use of paper, part of our green initiative. So you'll see the announcements page on the website. It's in big block capital letters. If you click on that, you can get information at the 3 schools as well as in the district. You can print those off. If you know anybody that does not have a printer at home, they can always call the school and they will print off and send paper copies to them. It's updated daily, so there's things added to it all the time. So just make sure you check that out, as well as some other platforms. We do have Fountain Egg Comp on Thursday. Thursday's
Willie Green.
The Willie Green night here at Volts. I believe it starts at 7. No, I don't know that time. Check
Again,
that.
I have
Go to the
an
announcements
email.
page and check that tab.
Yeah, bro.
Willie Green will be here in all 3 schools Thursday during the day, and then there will be a presentation in the evening. Friday evening at 10 a.m. in the Volts gym.
Yay.
6 o'clock full
I know, I was
6 o'clock.
reading something that I said, hey, that's all.
What else do I have here? As I told you before my report, roundtable, big discussion was the park assessment and how that's being impacted for schools. A little more towards the high school requirements for graduation, but also the concern to come up with the disappointment in local district scores reflected by that baseline. So again, not to make excuses, but we want to be the only ones with that disappointment. Evaluations have been done in all 3 buildings. Sure teachers all love to hear that. And then just as far as locally, I know we have the Commie Night Rotary's doing up at the VFW on Saturday evening, as well as I believe the borough is doing something for
This Saturday evening?
this Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's our PTA trunk or treat.
Ah, I'll let you know that. I don't have a calendar. I have to keep track of these things. And then also, I believe the borough is doing something on the evening of Halloween after trick or treating hours.
Oh, yeah, it's actually at the field house now.
Field house, and they're having a tent or something as well, but I don't think the Harry Pavilion is.
It's the floors is not gonna be
Floor's not
done.
finished, so just keep that in mind.
And I was told to please make it public that trick-or-treating hours were changed this morning until 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. to accommodate our school children. So Mayor Kapadas asked that I say that publicly.
3 to 7.
3 to 7. Yes. Anything else? Thank you. Principals reports, nurses, building and grounds report, and special education reports are all attached.
Good luck.
Does anyone have any questions on them? PTA report, I don't think that, well, we have our trunk or treat coming up. I don't think there's anything else to add. Committee report, Camden County Educational Services Commission had a meeting last week. I was unable to attend because it was on a Wednesday evening and I was at work. New Jersey School Board Association.
Our delegate meeting to look at resolutions that are being recommended for the state will be in December. I haven't gotten I'll probably get the packet in the middle of November, and I will be attending that. And I also attended the New Jersey School Board of Directors meeting for Naomi, and I gave each board member a copy of the key points that came out during that meeting. So you had that to review.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe there's anything for Black Horse Pike negotiations, Angel, nothing right now, right? Okay. All right, so, moving along to new business. Under property and transportation, excuse me. I need a motion to approve items number 1, facility use, and number 2, field trips.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Chaz. Second by Naomi, I believe. Roll call.
Mrs. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckheim?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Spalding?
Yes. Personnel, I need a motion to approve items number
I
1
make a
through
motion.
9. Please remember that number 9 was an addendum.
I make a motion to approve items 1 through 9.
I'll second.
And wow, will number
With
1
regret.
The best.
I'm sorry, Maria made a motion,
Patty.
and Patty seconded. I apologize. Roll call.
Mrs. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckheim?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Spalding?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Before we move on, I just want to thank Ms. Tarashi for her services to the Runnemede Public Schools the last couple of years. Helped us do this really well. Good endeavor. I appreciate you coming out tonight. I wish you the best. We also would like to introduce Mr. Brandon Geeson, who's in front of you there, as the new health and PE teacher. Please stand up, Brandon.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Very nice to meet you, buddy.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Brandon went through the rigor of interviews with Dr. McCarron, Mrs. Yezi, and then myself in the second round as well. He's going to bring a lot of energy and passion, do some of the same things that Mr. Rashi was doing this year, as far as some of the student activities and programs and clubs and things, and then he's gonna put his own twist to it. So we're really excited to have you here.
It's okay if I say a few words real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Brandon Geeson. I graduated from Rowan University. I've always had a passion for giving and helping others. As I grew older, I realized I could do this through education. My whole life I've been active and healthy. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity, working with faculty and staff and meeting the students, and hopefully bringing some new amazing changes to the community. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Trash, you would also like to say something.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to thank everybody, the whole room. It's been a wonderful experience. I feel like you guys have just welcomed me into your communities and everything. And it was a really tough decision, and sometimes you don't really seek out opportunities. They just kind of fall into your lap. And I had, to run with it and kind of see where it's going to lead me in my next journey. But I really appreciate all of your support that you've given the past 3+ years. I think he's going to do a wonderful job at school. The kids are great. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and I just thank you guys so much. So
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Thank you. All right, well now I'm all discombobulated.
I know.
All right, finance, thank you. Thank you, Vice President. I need a motion to approve items number 1 through 8.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Chaz, seconded by Naomi. Do we have any questions?
I just have one.
Sure.
I know it's, I know the PSEG and the bills for the, electricity and gas.
Yes.
I know that we need air conditioning, but they just seem extremely high, and I'm just wondering, is our system on a device where they monitor the temperature when children are not and staff are not in the building, and to save energy, are they energy saving modes for the electricity and heat?
Our buildings are, they're
Frank, you
regulated.
want to talk a little more about that, Frank? You have to fix them when they break.
I was just looking at the bill and I thought, wow, is there a way to save some energy?
One of the things is we don't have a computer management system for our units. We do have what's called pneumatic, which is really outdated. It does need to be upgraded, which will help out in saving electricity and gas and everything. But as far as your answer, yes and no, because some areas it works fine, other areas it's not working.
Okay.
And we are working to try to fix the situation. I talked to Dr. McCarron about it, and we're looking into trying to upgrade to a computer management system.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
You're welcome.
That was a good question to bring up, because one of the board's goals for the district was to become a greener school, to be more efficient, not waste money. And so this is a great area that we need to look into to become greener.
Back on your question, are the lights in the school supposed to be on the weekend?
That's usually that's the generator.
Which
Generator lights.
there's emergency lighting that stays on 24/7, because if they ever go out, the generator or hooked up, they're hooked behind the generator. Is there certain
So why does
areas?
it have to stay on isn't it like on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock? Why would the office need to be lit up?
Because Mrs. Marker is probably working.
Working.
I'm using Bingham as an example. Why would the lights be on the building? If the lights are on at nighttime, do they need to be on at night?
So true.
Is it like bright light, or is it just lit up?
I don't know. It's like when somebody left the bathroom lights on in my house, I would turn there's lights.
Some of it's
It's probably the light from the generators, what you're seeing. That will never go out because it's behind the generators. So what
Okay.
they have is they stay on all the time, and say if we lose electricity, then all these other lights go out, but you need a certain amount of light in the schools, so if you had an emergency, you would be able to see through
Right,
the
so,
hallways and
so
stuff.
those minimum lights stay on even in our off hours when, whether
Yes.
the lights went
Yes.
out wouldn't matter?
Yes.
Is what you're telling me?
Yep, no matter what, they will stay on 24/7.
Yeah, I know, but I questioned it, it was funny a week ago, and like, yelling my kids if they left those lights on.
Is that something that would be a part of upgrading our system to where?
No, that's standard, wherever you go, that's what you're gonna
Okay,
find.
that's required?
That's required, yes.
Okay.
There's a minimum candle lighting that you're
It
supposed
must
to
be
go.
constant?
Yes,
Okay,
so, and that's for safety, that's not for anything else.
okay.
Roll call, correct? Roll call?
Mrs. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckon?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Farry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Spalding?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Curriculum, I need a motion to approve items number 1 to 3.
I make a motion to approve items 1 through 3.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckon?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Farry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Spalding?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Under policy, public relations, we need a motion to approve item number 1.
Yeah, the,
I need a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Chaz,
Second.
seconded by Amy. Roll call.
Mrs. Dare?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Beebe?
Yes.
Mr. Buckon?
Yes.
Ms. Davidson?
Yes.
Ms. Farry?
Yes.
Ms. Panzarella?
Yes.
Ms. Spalding?
Yes.
Motion passes.
What Chaz and I were briefly talking about is, but before the meeting today, it was the Policy and Public Relations Committee meeting, so Chaz, Maria, and myself met with Mr. Iannucci and Dr. McCarron, and just, we talked about different policies that needed to be updated. There was nothing, out of the ordinary, just mandates. And then we talked about some changes that we may make to our attendance policy next year. This year, Black Horse Pike and other surrounding districts changed their attendance policy to once you accumulate a certain amount of latenesses, that will count as an absence. And we're looking to do the same thing here to try and alleviate the chronic lateness to school. So we'll talk more in depth about that when we bring it to the table for the first reading next month, November 15th at our board meeting. We also wanted to make sure that everyone knows that communication, I had a couple complaints about it, about the announcement tab, but I used it on my phone last night. I wanted to look at Red Ribbon Week next week, what everything was, especially because I'm going to be away a couple of days. Make sure that I just screenshot it, send it to my husband, everything comes up right on my phone, and there was no need for me to even print anything out, so just make sure if people are saying oh, I'm not getting any flyers, I'm not getting my PTA flyer, I didn't get a wrestling flyer, I didn't get, a RYAA flyer, it's because they're online, because we're trying to go green.
There wasn't a phone chain that came through about.
There was a phone and it's an email, I know I received an email from Mrs. Yezi last night probably, telling me that new things were added, so that way that's why I went on and looked.
But to clarify, if there was an outside organization that wanted something to go home, they would be more than what we would be able to.
No, it's on
So
there.
for instance, no. So if Triton Wrestling wanted to send home a paper and they copied and supplied the papers, we would send it home, correct?
No, it gets loaded on there.
It's scanned in and posted on the website.
It's over on the right side of all, it says all schools.
Did you see it yet?
No, I did, I've been on it. I thought that it was because, I thought if they supplied with the amount of, if we weren't supplying the paper and we weren't paying for it, and an outside organization was, that it would have been, because one of the problems that, that already was occurring was with the, the sports and stuff, and not having enough sign-ups and winter sign-ups and winter break, they always waited for those flyers to come out. So that's what I was thinking.
The flyer for that specific, it's already up. It's
No,
already up.
it's up, I know it's up, I'm saying to come home. That's
Right, but the problem was getting it home, especially from middle school kids, because that doesn't always happen. So we're gonna just stick with our green initiative.
Okay.
Right, Patty?
Yes.
I know you are.
Mine too.
And that was it, right? Did I forget anything?
No.
That's it. All right, so that's what we talked about, and I apologize that we didn't say that earlier. So, at this time, we're open for recognition. Does anyone have anything to add? Any members of the public have anything to add? Agenda items or non-agenda items at this time? Okay, if not, then I wanted to remind everyone, Dr. McCarron put your badges for the convention next week. Please make sure Dr. McCarron knows specifically, Dr. McCarron, do you need to speak to anyone about that? Do I need to help you? All right, if everyone is, if you're going, please make sure you look at your mandatory trainings and you know what is going to be, what you need to do. So that is next week, and then Tuesday night is the caucus meeting for the borough. Obviously, it's also the first night of our convention.
I will not.
The borough meeting is November 1st at 7 p.m. Planning and zoning is November 9th. Our board meeting is, next board meeting is Tuesday, November 15th. The Property, Transportation, and Finance Committee, which is Amy, Joe, Angel, and Naomi, need to be here at 6, please. And then the next caucus meeting will be for the borough is November 22nd.
If I can just add one thing,
Sure.
I forgot, you reminded me, because I go to the planning and zoning board meetings. There was nothing on the agenda, so nothing was approved or disapproved. However, there was one topic that came up, the Dunkin' Donuts at the corner of Schubert and Evesham has been in contact with the mayor. They're probably gonna submit a formal request to be permitted to have a drive-through area. So that's.
There's an ordinance in town, that's why I have to do it, there's an ordinance that permits
Yeah,
drive-through.
so that was the only item,
They left it that.
2 years ago.
All right, stay focused here, stay focused. That was the only item that was discussed at the planning and zoning board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for going. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Great. I need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Patty, seconded by Naomi.